watching the chapter recording?
Just a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, everyone knows that. It started. Michael, this guy. Yeah. Oversaw. Yeah, just all the timing.
Chair?
Yes, are we ready?
Because one is in Europe and it's 1 AM, so maybe we can,
But we do have four.
yes,
So,
yes.
great, okay. Well, on that note, it is July 14th, 2025, 1 o'clock, and this is the Beautification and Public Commission agenda and meeting. So first we're gonna call to order and then we're gonna do roll calls. So, Claire Edelman Heath,
Present.
Michael Ruland,
Michael, can you hear us?
Present, he says.
Oh, okay.
great. Oh, good, so we have 5. Vice Chair J. Michael Cruz.
Is absent, excused.
Matt McGrath.
Here.
Audra Travelby. Present. And myself, Carla McCord, I am present. We have a quorum. That's us. Item C, upcoming events. Just a reminder to look at flagstaff365.com for upcoming events in music, culture, art, and science. And item 2, the Downtown Connection Center ribbon. It's August 6th, 2025, 10 a.m. to noon. There's a calendar invite with an RSVP request that was sent out on June 30th. And Laura Haddad and Tom Durgan, the artist team, will be there and offering a tour. And then just as an aside, I wanted to mention if nobody's gone by to see it at night, it is lovely. So I really encourage everybody to go see the art on the building at night. It's great. And then moving on to item D, public participation. Do we have any public participation today?
No.
And then item E, approval of minutes. Can we just do them together? Yes, okay. Did everybody have a chance to review the May and June minutes? And if so, does someone want to make a motion to approve the May and June minutes?
Sure.
That's May minutes and June minutes.
This is true. Maybe, we didn't have enough quorum
Yeah.
to pass and then we had a June meeting as well.
Michael Ruland has moved.
Oh,
Oh, great. Would anybody like to second?
I'll second.
Great. And then is there any discussion? Great. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that passes. Oh, any against? And then, moving on to item F, announcements. Corey, staff announcements.
well, I'm gonna start it off, but I'm gonna let Corey finish it. We're really excited. Corey has received a Arizona State Parks residency at Patagonia Lake. And it will be, October 21st through November 9th. And, she'll still probably, she might be remote at our, retreat, but we'll still, participate. But it has worked on cyanotypes, but cyan types, excuse me, but I'm gonna let Corey explain her residency a little bit more in detail.
Yeah, so we did tweak the dates a little bit. It's October 29th to November 16th. And I will be working remotely 3 days a week during that period. And yeah, so my art practice is cyanotypes, which is a photographic process. But I use plant materials to make the exposures rather than negatives. So I'm really excited to be around all their plants, trees, and do some experimental work down there. I'll be hosting a workshop down there for the public. And yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Item 2, chair and vice chair announcements. I have none. And I don't believe Michael Cruz is here.
Karen did not
so-
send any.
And then do any of the other commissioners have announcements?
Yes, well, Audra does.
Okay.
Audra, you may.
Yeah, just wanted to let everybody know that our call for artists is open for the Artemis Tesoria, the Role of Feminine and Divine Throughout History exhibition that will open on September 5th as part of First Friday Art Walk. So if you know of artists that might be interested in submitting, please share this information with them. We're trying to get it out to as many people as possible. They can go to the address on the agenda, which is a Google form that has all of the details and then a simple process for submitting a piece.
Awesome. Thank you. And then item 4, Vice Mayor Sweet, do you have any council liaison?
I do not, we're on break right now. And I wish my break were going a little bit better, but yeah, we're on break. So,
And then moving on to item H, discussion items. I believe this is Mr. Gall.
So, Brian, feel free to seat up here. I'm going to introduce you to Brian Gall, the airport director of the Flagstaff Airport. And Brian and I have had a site visit and a discussion about this possible new project for BPAC to consider at the October retreat. But without further ado, I'm going to let Brian take it away.
Thanks, Jenna, and good afternoon, everyone. As Jenna mentioned, my name is Brian Gall. I'm the director of the Flagstaff Airport. I'll talk to you a little bit today about potential projects that we want to engage this team about, but I was going to start with a little bit of background about the airport itself.
yeah, so the happy face, just make sure that's printed the right way.
Okay.
Click down to go to the next slide.
Can someone be doing anything?
It's a universal challenge.
Guess you're going to have to advance it.
Okay, I'm happy to do that for you.
Sounds good. I think we might have skipped one in there. Okay, so the Flagstaff Pulliam Airport is owned and operated by the city of Flagstaff, or what the FAA classifies as a non-hub primary commercial air service and general aviation airport. It's really a long way of saying we're a regional airport. So we see a lot of mix of those commercial flights, generally in the smaller aircraft, plus a lot of private aircraft and charters, things like that. Right now, our commercial service is with American Airlines. We have direct daily flights to both Phoenix and Dallas-Fort Worth on the 70-seat aircraft called the CRJ 700. Depending on the time of year, the number of flights varies, but it's typically between 4 and 9 flights per day. We have 7 rental car companies also at the airport. Alamo, Avis, Budget, Dollar, Enterprise, Hertz, and National. And we actually see a lot of traffic that comes to the airport just for the rental car business in addition to the flights. Our airfield elevation is 7,014 feet. So like a lot of things in Flagstaff, it can be a challenging environment to operate in. And we're one of the top, I believe, top 6 or 7 highest commercial service airports in the country. We're also the closest commercial service airport to both the Grand Canyon and Sedona. We expect about 160,000 passengers to come through the airport in 2025, split roughly evenly between arrivals and departures. We refer to those as enplanements for passengers that are leaving and deplanements for passengers that are arriving in Flagstaff. Now, I think a key thing to note is that about 60% of our passenger traffic are folks that are visiting the region. So folks that aren't based in Northern Arizona, but rather coming here from elsewhere. Right now, about 78% of the tourist traffic or the air traffic that are for people that are trying to visit Flagstaff or somewhere nearby actually fly through Phoenix to get there. So we refer to that as a leakage rate. So those are folks that we're not capturing right now. So that number could potentially be a lot higher. We are always working on getting some additional air service and trying to bring in some more visitors. But I think it is important to note that we are up about 10% year over year from last year. Last year was up about 5% from the year previous to that. So outside of the few years when we had both American and United here, we've generally been getting busier as time goes on. Next slide, please. To that end, we've made a few recent improvements in the airport terminal and the full facilities. Next slide, please. Big part of that was part of the CARES grants that we got as part of the COVID relief programs that came out of the federal government. In this case, run through the Federal Aviation Administration. Flagstaff Airport was actually awarded 18.1 million in grant funding as part of that program. And that was specifically earmarked for operations and maintenance. So that really went to cover a lot of our operational costs when we weren't seeing that passenger traffic. That was really keeping the airport revenue down from what we would normally see. But we did spend more than $6 million on airfield maintenance projects for the course of the grant, and actually right around 6 million in the 23-24 timeframe. Sorry, I just noticed a little bit of a mistype on that year there. It's 23 to 24 was the final year of the grant. So in that time, we painted both the interior and exterior of the terminal. We replaced sections of the terminal flooring. We resurfaced some of the older terminal parking lots. We did a bunch of maintenance on the airfield, so the type of stuff that you really won't see except for very short, brief windows after the aircraft when you're getting ready to take off. We did a bunch of airfield maintenance with that. We also updated our wayfinding signage, tried to make sure it was very comfortable and clear for passengers that are in the terminal area. And we updated some of the fences. We had a lot of chain link fence in the area that was kind of dated and a little bit of disrepair. So we dressed up a lot of that and replaced some of it with some more aesthetically pleasing fences so it'll achieve the same goals. Next slide, please. We also, with the help of Janice's team, installed the super awesome Coconino Scroll, which is a really cool art fence that's between the terminal and our economy parking lot. If anybody hasn't been out there to take a look, I'd really encourage you to do so. It's been incredibly popular. We have people that literally come up to our airport office to ask us about it. There's some pamphlets about it that we have available that are out for the public to pick up, and they can read along with the medallions that are there adjacent to it. We also have a section for it on the airport website, but it's really, we get a lot of really great feedback about it. We see people that are stopping to take pictures there all the time, so it's really a great amenity. In addition to that, we've installed some new terminal amenities. We installed a new visitor center in partnership with Discover Flagstaff. That actually just opened within the last couple of weeks here. So there's a picture of it there when it was finalizing construction. So that's open 7 days a week, sells souvenirs, but also provides visitor information for anybody that might be visiting the region. And we've installed 2 new micro markets and coffee kiosks, one on either side of security. So that provides unstaffed fresh food and fresh coffee 24/7, 365 on both sides of the security checkpoint, which has been a big plus for us. So one of the challenges we have as a regional airport is there are a few things that we struggle to compete with some of the larger airports. Flight options, of course, being a big one. You know, Sky Harbor has hundreds of flights a day with a lot of options to go different places. And pricing tends to be lower when you get to those airports that have a lot of those flight options, especially in recent years. We've seen a bigger change in the pricing between regional aircraft flight prices versus the major hub airports. But we try to make up for that with our advantages. Convenience being one, you know, a very short walk from the parking lot into the building, very short lines through the checkpoint, very short walk to get onto the aircraft. And the other one is passenger experience. So that's things like the visitor center, things like adding the micro markets and the coffee on both sides, trying to make sure that it's a very pleasant experience for the passengers that come through Flagstaff. But one of the challenges we've seen is that there are a few areas where we're falling short, which leads to the next couple of slides. For some things that I wanted to talk about on the exterior terminal itself, specifically hardscaping and landscaping. Next slide, please. So the airport terminal was built in 1993, and it's seen a few small expansions in that time, mostly to accommodate the changes that came with the creation of the Transportation Security Administration in the early 2000s. Outside of that, it's really been a lot of maintenance of what we have. And we generally try to prioritize a few things with the budget we have at the airport. Safety being number 1, security being number 2, and regulatory compliance is our number 3. So those are kind of the 3 things that where a bulk of our available maintenance funding goes to. Unfortunately, that leads to some things that aren't quite where we would like them to be from that customer experience standpoint. A big one being the existing landscaping in front of the terminal. So I've included a few photos here. The photo on the left is a pretty typical stretch of the landscaping in front of the terminal, between the terminal and the curb front, where passengers are picked up and dropped off. So you can see there was some existing landscaping rock down with a little bit of some differing materials there. They tried to dress it up at one point. They did at one point have aspens that ran that whole distance, but it's been a hard few years on the aspens, and we've seen about 80% of them have actually died, and we've had to remove them for safety reasons. That's pretty typical. The other thing you'll see there is it's just kind of a regular sidewalk. We've replaced some panels that became tripping hazards with cracks or heaving on them like that. We try to keep up with things like that to the best we can. The other issue we've had, it really goes down to everything you see from the curb front. Things like the trash cans. One of the things we don't have that I would really like to provide is seating areas for passengers. Sometimes we have people that may have limited mobility or may, be tired after a long day of traveling and might need a place to sit, which is something we haven't really been able to provide them so far. The picture on the right is part of the path that leads you to the new economy parking lot. So the part that Jana's team worked on, there's a stretch of that that's really beautiful, 10-foot wide sidewalk, with a view of the forest and that really cool Coconino scroll. But before you get there, you pass the rental car parking area, and it has this kind of wedge of what I think was probably landscaped at one point, but there's not really any evidence of that at the moment. Next slide, please. I've incorporated a few more here from some different angles. There are some things going for it. We had, at one point, I think that there was some pretty intentional work done with some of the landscaping and trees, and a number of those have done quite well. So there's some really cool mixed conifer in the area adjacent to the terminal, but really a lot of it's looking a little bit tired. And I mentioned those 160,000 passengers that come through. Those are just our airline passengers. I think we do see some more folks that come just for checking out their rental cars and things like that. Also folks that come and pick up and drop off passengers at the airport. This can often be visitors' first and last impressions of the region on their way here. And I think this is an area where it's not where I would like it to be right now. And I wanted to bring that to this team and see if anybody had any ideas for some way we could partner on this and try to make it, number one, more user-friendly, but also number two, more aesthetically pleasing and representative of the region. Next slide, please. Here's an overhead view of the area that we're talking about. Obviously, the airport campus is quite large, and I wanted to kind of try to create something that's a little bit more of a bite-sized or manageable pieces to go along with that. So there's two different colors there. The red areas are some of the landscaped arees in front of the terminal, and the blue areas are our hardscape. Actually, I think that might be reversed on the
Yeah, I
legend
think
there.
it might be reversed.
So apologies for that as well. But so you can see it's not a huge area. The airport terminal itself is a few hundred feet long, and then it extends a little bit beyond that on either side to the part where the bulk of the passengers go. And so this really is where most of our passengers funnel through. There are, of course, landscaping islands across our parking lots. Of that tends to be a little bit more native trees, some of the ponderosas that existed before the airport terminal was built, plus some aspens and other deciduous trees that were planted at certain times along the way. But really, those kind of red and blue areas is really the funnel that almost all of our passengers travel through, both on their way to and from the terminal when they're both departing and arriving. So that's what I was kind of hoping to focus on as part of today's conversation. And really, I just wanted to kind of bring that forward. I'd seen some of the work that this commission and the Janice team have done in other facilities across the city. I think that's something that would really benefit the folks that are visiting Flagstaff and the airport itself. Just wanted to bring that to this team and have some discussion about it. I know Jana and I walked through it. Jana, was there anything that?
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
add
I
to
think
that?
you maybe have one more slide about the dog area.
Oh, yes, that's a great point. Thank you very much. So I mentioned the three areas that we focus on: safety, security, and regulatory compliance.
Yes.
Regulatory compliance is another one where there's a place we're falling short right now, and that is in terms of service animal relief areas. So somewhat recent federal legislation has mandated that airports our size have a service animal relief area that meets certain federal standards on both sides of the TSA checkpoint. Now, obviously, the front of the terminal that we're talking about here could potentially be a location where we could incorporate something, an amenity for folks that travel with service animals, or for people that travel with their pets, that generally goes kind of hand in hand with that landscaping and hardscaping. So the example I pulled here was from the Port of Seattle, I believe. So they have a number of them at their airport facilities, but they're there's a lot of different ways you can do it and still meet that regulatory requirement. But I like this one from, I think, the way that it seemed to fit in with their broader facility. I think that it's a good example of something that is aesthetically pleasing for both that purpose and that regulatory requirement, and still sort of fits into the vibe that they were going through at that location. Other items that I think from an airport perspective, I would like to be able to incorporate into that area in front of the terminal. Something that's inviting and memorable. I think what we've seen is a lot of airports are places that people remember. I think some of the Pacific Northwest airports, especially nowadays, are starting to bring those amenities inside with cool atriums and, even things like down to the carpeting that they have in the airports that have become popular and made their way into sort of souvenirs, pop culture, things that are related to people's travel. In addition to that, accessibility. So as part of some of that CARES funding we did replace a number of our ADA ramps to meet current accessibility standards, but there are a few more to go along that path to try to make sure that we're meeting the latest version of all those standards. The surface animal relief area that's included in that photo, plus as I mentioned before, outdoor seating, someplace that people can rest while they're waiting for those rides to come pick them up, especially in some weather. And then wayfinding is another one. So I did mention that we've done a lot of work with wayfinding inside the terminal. We try to standardize our messaging, standardize our signing. There are some international standards on symbols that go along with some of the wayfinding and transportation facilities. So we've incorporated that inside the building, but I think we still have some work to do on the outside of the building, especially now that we've opened a second parking lot. We have more rental car companies. We do see sometimes people, even as small as the Flagstaff airport is to navigate, we still see people, especially visitors, that will walk out of the terminal and go the wrong direction, and end up in the terminal parking lot when they're needing to pick up a rental car. So I think that's something that I would really like to be done holistically as much as possible instead of piecemeal, which is what we kind of end up doing when it's reactionary and our budget is
I
limited.
think, one of the infrastructure pieces that we saw as part of the hardscape that could possibly be used to do that more inviting and memorable entrance is possibility those columns, which are in fairly bad shape right now, but there's probably enhancements that could be done to those columns that would, brighten up the place. The other thing I discussed with Brian is that, we do have obviously landscape architect firms that are on call, so perhaps procurement would not be as a big of a hurdle with this project. Normally I would say we would definitely want a capital project manager, but I do know that the airport happens to have a stellar capital project manager if he's available for this project. And that's something else that Brian and I discussed because, we put a lot of requests into capital projects and, we have somebody for Schweitzer Canyon this year, Spruce Lost Wedge, and but we're always putting in requests. We're competing with other divisions, obviously, for a capital project manager time. But I believe Brian,
Adam,
Adam, sorry.
Adam Alley is our airport programs manager, formerly a project manager with Public Works. So he has delivered a bunch of projects, including the economy parking lot that Jana also worked on. So Adam was already involved in part of that with a co-convenience role and the work that happened along that fence line adjacent to it, or that sidewalk adjacent to it.
So I discussed with Brian that if Adam could possibly be, a project manager, it takes something off the list so we don't have to bump another project that we've already prioritized. But I know this will be a bigger discussion at the October retreat, but I wanted you guys to have a chance to discuss and ask Brian more questions and what do you think? Just general, what's your first reaction?
I think it's a great project. We have, our funding comes primarily from tourism, and as a tradition, it's important that we recognize that. So to me, it makes a lot of sense to make sure that we're feeding the source. The opportunities are myriad. I mean, you've got such a wide open palette, and with the right artist team and the right design team, I think you've got so much potential to do a lot of even simple solutions that would have huge impact. So I guess my questions are mostly just, what are you dreaming of?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is, I think a lot of the Flagstaff airport really feels like Flagstaff to me. And I think that's a mix of the way it's our building orientation was actually designed to show a view of the San Francisco peaks from the terminal building. Now, from an airport standpoint, it's actually maybe not the best orientation. From an aircraft movement standpoint, it'd be better if it was parallel to our runway. But it's really nice to come out of our office every day and from basically every window in a huge portion of the building, you're looking at the view that you can see on the screen right now. And I think that the one place where we're not really meeting that sort of feel is the front of the terminal. I think the inside of the terminal, with some of the recent work we've done, and really the original architecture of the building itself, I think fits with the community here pretty well. But I don't feel like that's true as much in the building. So more than anything, I think I talked about some of the sort of nuts and bolts of the priorities that I would be looking for personally, but, and,
That's your passion. Yes.
just something that I think, yeah, and I think it's everything, I've watched the work that this committee has done over the years, everything from the traffic signal cabinets and the coping unit's role at the airport and the work at the Downtown Connection Center. I think that that is something that we're missing at the airport right now, outside of the coping unit's role.
Yeah.
But,
That's great.
Chair McCord, I heard you say, and it would be a discussion whether to have just purely a landscape architect project or whether we should have an artist on design as well.
And actually, my other question pertaining to that same team question is, to me, it sounds like also what you really need is a really excellent wayfinding program. And that can be incorporated. I don't know the rules. I would have to double check. Because everybody here. But if our contribution to the wayfinding program that contributes also to the identity of the airport. I mean, there's a long and happy history of that. And actually, the Northwest airports, SeaTac in particular, even their signage in their terminals with the arrows, like the red that they use is specifically a cedar red. And I mean, that color was selected out of, happened to be at the table when it was selected, and it was, 25 swatches of cedar red. Like, which one is the most cedar? And so those things though can go a long way towards really driving people's experience at your airport. And then also they can expand with your airport. There's a lot of growth from that. So it's great. But that would be another question, is should there be a design team?
Right. Yeah. The other
Commissioner Rulon has
Yes.
wrote in. I flew through Flagstaff in late June. I noticed the new visitor center and the upgraded vending offerings. Outdoor seating is definitely an important priority, and I definitely like our residents and visitors alike to be greeted by more native greenery.
Thank you, Commissioner Rulon. Claire? Commissioner Edelman Heath, my apologies.
It's fine. No, I think this is a really, really great project. We've talked about different ways and first impressions people have of Flagstaff, and this is certainly a big one. And I do see the need. I mean, and I also agree. I appreciate the thoughtful assessment you've given the front. I think it would help to try to narrow down the scope of, as we go through the process, narrow down the scope of who's involved, and even just like picking the columns, because that can kind of change the consultant team a little bit that'll support you. But this has a lot of opportunity, and I'm really excited to see it come forward, because there's so much that can be done right there, and you've identified a good bit of it. So feel supportive, and I'm looking forward to talking about it more in October.
Sure. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Awesome.
Well, thank you, Brian.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time today. The opportunity, so.
A dirty look.
Please go to.
Yeah. All right, we are moving on to item 2, the BIA grant updates. Corey?
Yes. So I just wanted to share with you some updates on a couple of BIA grants. The first one is Lonnie Weiss, whose original design for the Flagstaff Library was submitted as such, but due to upcoming construction at that site, she asked to relocate her mural. And that location is here, the Canyon Inn Motel along Milton. And this is what the mural looks like today. She has completed it. It is slightly different than the designs that she submitted, which is primarily featuring elk and nature. So she did not come back to us with the additional elements in her paintings. And, you know, we're just wanting to get your input on how significant you feel these changes are and the need to communicate with BIA grant awardees that changes in design need to come through.
Let's look
feedback.
at the other one as well.
Okay. And then the other one is Joel Geis' dendroglyph mural at Sheep's Crossing. In his original design, he had the Basque carvings that were made into the aspen trees, but he's now altered it, and he's chosen to name it The Eyes of the Aspens, focusing on the eye element. So this is the previous design with the Basque dendroglyphs in it, and his finished design now, where he has removed those elements. And he did, you know, send an email that detailed the justifications for why he did that. He had learned that the aspen trees lose their branches as they grow. And that's what leaves that kind of eye mark on the aspen tree. And he thought it was a metaphor for maturity, not holding onto things or habits of our youth that no longer support us and to deplete resources for upward growth. And he mentions that the Basque presence is still notable in the work through the carefully stacked rocks that are now central and form a visual story telling perspective that the aspen carvings within the aspens would become redundant with this stone here that he's added here. You see the mark of man in an otherwise undisturbed grove, watched over by the eyes of the aspens. And he says he believes it to be more poetic this way.
So we went ahead and, you know, accepted these murals.
Yeah.
And we, you know, and I authorized payment for the artist. So I just want to, you know, let you know that we're not voting on whether to make them redo it, but we are concerned enough that changes were made without even telling staff. And so that it could be communicated. And so we just want to, you know, first of all, just kind of get your response to what was done. Do you feel, you know, especially, I mean, some put for very specific proposals and some do just sketches. And, you know, they're approved and they're slightly different. So, you know, we want direction from BPAC about how strong we should be about communicating to them that if they do any change, you know, or what level of change, should they, you know, come back to us. So, you know, kind of give us your feeling and your comments. We really would like to hear it.
Does anybody have anything at the top of their minds? The discussion, so you can involve your thoughts.
I just have a question. When you let the artist know that their artwork has been accepted and that, you know, we're gonna go ahead with the project, do you share with them the reasons why the committee approved it or what the committee liked about it or?
No, because that's done when it's approved. I mean, that's done, you know, because remember, they get most of their funding up front, and it's kind of like only, you know, between 10 and 25% that they get at the end. So all those comments are shared, you know, from the feedback meeting. They're encouraged to, you know, if they weren't here to watch the comments. So that's done when they get the grant. And then it's just whether we have to decide whether we accept it at the end. Yeah. Did they complete their project?
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Yeah. You look like you're looking at something. Are you thinking?
Oh, yeah, I'm just going back and forth between, like, I think Joel's is very similar to the original one. Like, I know it's a little different. Also, and this is a particular case, but there was not unanimity among the committee or commission that the dendroglyphs were a good idea anyway.
Yeah, he had 3 different
Yeah.
levels of how
And there
many
was-
dendroglyphs.
and so
and
there
there
was
a lot of
discussion about that,
discussion
so-
and debate.
I mean,
over
that's a
that.
very particular instance, like here where he dropped it, I'm like, well, not everybody loved that anyway. I mean, I think his is very similar and kind of close enough.
It's pretty neat. But sort of the counterpoint to that would be that the dendroglyphs are about being asked.
Mhm.
And that this is a piece of art that's supposed to commemorate the Basque history. I'm not familiar with how stacked rocks represent Basque people.
I didn't understand.
So I'm not entirely sure if that's specific enough to reference that particular group. But I was like the dendroglyphs.
My favorite thing about the project was the Basque culture, and I think we even talked about possibly having like a plaque that talked about the role of Basque history in Flagstaff. And I'm also a little bit concerned about the cairns. I know that like there's a lot of struggle with, especially when you visit national parks, that them don't make cairns because it's damaging to the environment and you're really not supposed to do that. So I feel a little bit about that. Like,
Same argument for the dendroglyphs, though.
that's true.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't find it particularly offensive. I mean, it's a little unfortunate that you didn't communicate it prior. I mean, that's just professionalism, I think, a little bit, when an artist makes a big change, that they are using public funds and, if it happened to be change was significant enough that it upsets you. If there was a topic change, symbolism change, or maybe there was a Basque grandma that was really looking forward to the dendroglyphs, then we might run into some problems. But in my mind, the primary thing would be we would note that this artist makes changes without telling you. And the next time they apply for a BIA grant, we can ask questions about that. And we can say, in the last piece you submitted, the topic changed. Can you address that or help us to understand if it's gonna change with this new piece? Because he's a very excellent artist. Does anybody else have any thoughts, questions? Michael or Claire? Don't want to leave you guys out.
Yeah, so what grant, so Michael says when the grant is awarded, what language do we provide regarding changing the artwork? We obviously this hasn't happened before, so we haven't hit it, that hard. We say this proposal, was approved. And, with Lonnie's, she had a sketch, so we knew she was gonna fill in details. And yet it's somewhat different even in the layout of the design. So we are telling them that this proposal is approved, but we have not hit it real hard that if they have changes, they need to come back to us. Most of them, it's just been kind of, an intuitive understanding that if they're gonna change it, they're gonna come back to it, but we have not gone out of our way. And obviously, we're going to now, so,
And
so.
we've been very specific with the ones that worry us.
Mhm.
When we're evaluating the grants, the number of conversations we had about the Welcome to Flagstaff mural.
Right,
Being an excellent example.
right.
So
And it got executed exactly as it was done.
I'm quite happy with how that turned out.
Mhm.
So, I don't know, do we want to talk about the other one?
I think that'd be good because I think the other one's an example of, with the context changing, the site location changing as well as the content changing. Yeah, I think that gives me a lot of food for thought and how we might want to add language for future applicants. Just knowing, I can imagine that's takes a fair amount of staff time to coordinate, and a lot of our conversations for approval about these do really involve the context of does it qualify as signage? How is it seen and viewed? You know, is it really public? You know, all of those different concerns. So, which I don't necessarily have issues with this one, but I do see like a much bigger degree of change here.
Yeah, the layout's quite different.
Mhm, mhm.
It's quite different.
Well, I mean, when we look at can we look at the original sketch? Yeah,
I mean, you still see the kind of circular,
yeah,
you know, there's still the one animal, the one elk is the same in the new one, the one that's kind of walking away.
Mhm.
But, you know, there's one bird, but then the bird's kind of, and then, you know, actual rendition and really, you know, became more prominent. You
Well,
know,
that's the addition of the portrait.
we would assume that you probably, it was staff's assumption that the mural as it turned out was a positive thing and probably would have approved that proposal.
Yes, I think that's
Which
accurate.
is why that we did make that assumption when they hadn't accepted it, instead of asking them to paint it over.
She was out there for ages.
Yeah, so, we felt, you know, the aesthetics were in keeping with her work and things like that. But yes, we, you know, we're taken aback that we've not only had one, but two. And we, of course, love both of the artists and they're strong artists and there's no, you know, issue with their artistic work. But there is an issue with them not contacting us and we wanted you to be aware because we would have brought the changes to you.
I think we would have approved both pieces anyway. Is my guess. We're not in the, we don't, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, it's probably just a word to the wise.
So Michael's added some more, you know, thanks, Audra. I was typing the same comment. Thanks, Jana. Perhaps we need to craft some language. Yes, we do. And we'll bring it back to you. There's a few other changes that we need to make to the VIA application. So we'll get working on that real fast because we have a new deadline coming up on September 15th. Yeah, the finished product is great, but that addition of a human face seems a pretty big change. Yes, and Commissioner Rula and I agree. It was funny. It was obviously in the original proposal when she was at the library. There was a big human face. So, but yes, for this one, it wasn't there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else on that one? Okay, then we'll move on to item number 3, the 26 work plan.
Boy. Right. Hey. It's a new fiscal year, everybody. You know, we start in October with that retreat and, you know, this is what our end product, you know, city council in June, you know, approves the budget. And so, you know, here we go. All right, I'm pointing. All right. Oh,
Sorry, I was clicking to see if it was.
okay. So,
I'm so sorry, Jana. Try clicking one more time. I will not.
all right. Okay, I'll try one more time.
If you need new batteries.
Yeah, so anyway, you know, we increased our quote full capacity from 15 to 18, 18 to 19, and you know, there we are sitting at 24. Once again, way over. Now, some of the things, because we never made room for emerging projects that have an immediate priority or council requests or upper management requests, some of the reason that we get into this trouble. And so we do really need, as we go forward to the new retreat, to start making more spaces for that. Obviously, with some of the projects here got, you know, came in because of the centennial for Route 66 next year. but not all. Also just, bringing on Corey Woodall and getting a lot of refurbishments going. Also, added to our workload, some things that, we really identified need to go forward. So the motion refurbishment, the refurbishment of the Preservation Plaza, for Route 66 was time-wise needed to be done anyway. Maybe we could have deferred it a year if it was not centennial, but really, was in need. So, that added up. I am going to tell you that the last three are probably the ones that are kind of stay on hold until some of these other things finish up. But I do anticipate that they will start sometime in this fiscal year. It's just what time in this fiscal year that they'll get started. So let's go forward. All right, so then we do still have, so at those 24, we still have, 4 projects that can, things that can raise their head at any time and jump in and, bump things up. Right now I've taken kind of Lone Tree out of the regular because right now it's going to be kind of quiet this year. I anticipate it being quiet this year. There might be a little work that has to be done on form liners, but the major construction doesn't seem like it'll, be going, and the artists will be working heavily this year. The downtown mile, as you know, we're still working on the Milton Road underpass, but we're not really running that project. So again, these things may hop up. I'm not sure when that train platform is gonna, start coming in. And then again, more, emerging projects, council requests and upper management. Next slide. And then these were the priority projects for FY27 that, should everything finish up early, you guys identified as the ones that you wanted to go next. I don't think that is likely. So I don't think we're going to get to any of these in FY26. Next. Yeah, I'm just going to, you guys know, most of our work plan pretty well. I won't go into, our beautification and action grants, twice a year, something that happens every year now. I do want to talk a little bit about a previous BIA grant that is now kind of a project, which is the African American mural expansion and dumpster. The dumpster is in front of the mural, and that was known to the BIA grantee at the time that it was approved. The dumpster happened to move away we got it moved away while they were installing. And it kind of stayed away for about 3 or 4 extra months. And then it came back. And we got a lot of complaints about the location of the dumpster in front of this absolutely stellar mural that we produced. It was also exactly placed in front of former Mayor Evans in her portrait. So, and we also have a trouble with that dumpster that people dump extra things. They don't just put it in the dumpster, trash bags piled up, students move out, they put beds, it's problem. These complaints came in, there was an attempt with Public Works to move the dumpster to a new location that just generated more complaints. There's been a lot of conversation with council and the city manager's office over this. So the solution that I put forward is that we're going to paint the dumpster. Public Works has worked with us. They moved the dumpster and angled it so it's not quite square on, and it's not in front of former Mayor Evans anymore. So we were able to slide it down a little bit. It's been better, but it is a bright garish blue. So we're going to paint it in a color that will blend in better with the mural. We are also going to hire the same team to expand the mural to the adjacent wall, therefore making a bigger mural and therefore hopefully relatively diminishing the size of the dumpster in comparison. Like it will not seem as big when the mural is double the size that it is today. That's our solution, but it is something, we're not gonna make them apply for a BIA grant. We're going to do this directly so that we can kind of step in and do a report to council about what we're doing. And that's ongoing. We've had initial conversations with the artist team and with Candace Schmidt, who originally brought the BIA grant together. So I did want to, that's the big update on that. Okay, next. Creative Flagstaff, we got a new contract, this year, everything that went through, getting that procurement done. But now it's in place. They are, kind of going to be moving more into, art walks. They're also the First Friday art walks. They're also to activate them with more art in the art walks, as well as doing the biennial event for Art X this year. And then we were able to get significantly more money because the tax base was good this year to the GOS grants, innovation and capacity building project grants as well. So very healthy. I don't know if that'll be true next year. We do hear, BBD tax funds fluctuate from year to year. But, that's going forward. That's still a major thing. We all serve as staff on different selection panels. Corey's serving on the Art X. Kristen is serving on the capacity and innovation grants, and I serve on the GOS operating grants. And then Dave actually serves on the Creative Flagstaff board as a non-voting member. So we're very involved. Next. And then collections management, like I said, we have routine maintenance now that goes on, oilings of wood and all sorts of things that go on. We are, going to continue photographing our collection. Hope to get the new DCC art photographed this August and September. And then we're doing, the different plaques that, we've been presenting to you as well. Next. Flowers. The big thing here is that this contract has run out. All of our extensions has run out. That's now has to be bid again this year. So it's a bigger lift than usual. It's a huge program, a popular program. We're gonna keep it going. But we do have to formally bid it. It's it's $135,000 a year approximately right now, and probably will keep expanding. People get more requests. Next. And as you know, our I haven't renamed that formally on this yet. I apologize. It is now the Multicultural County Park Sculpture Exhibition, and I will get that renamed in the work plan. And we have had a successful second installation, and call is out for the third, and we'll be selecting again. Immensely popular, really great turnout at the opening, the ribbon cutting again. We get so much praises, and as you will see next month, we have 2 new project ideas that are coming in, and people who kind of want to tap in to the success of this exhibition, and both perhaps use some of the ones that were previous exhibitions for new locations, as well as a whole new idea for Heritage Square. So stay tuned. That's how popular this has been, and it does continue to take a lot of time.
For this one, because it is such a significant step.
Yes.
I would actually be really interested in feedback, positive and maybe not so positive, knowing a little bit more about what the community thinks about this. So if you guys do receive.
We could probably do a on Connect Flagstaff. Like we did on the traffic signal cabinets, we took a community survey and we asked people to vote for their favorite one. Did they think it was a good, did they like the programming? We could do that now that we had the second exhibition up for this, and get a pulse of the community at large. Be happy to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that, or just if there are some pre-existing comments or as things come in.
We only hear positive. We haven't heard.
Yeah, well, no, that alone is something that I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, we've only had positive comments about it.
Yeah.
I mean, depends on where your source is, but sometimes if you ask, then
But we
the
could get,
negatives come out of the woodwork.
I know, but it's okay to know it because if it's being said out there, it's better to know it's being said than get surprised by it in the future. But I think that, since we would have actually 10 sculptures to show, we could also like, again, make it a kind of a fun thing. As well, that people could, give their input about which pieces that they really related to. I don't like to do best, but which piece did you really relate to and why? Is always a better question. And things like that. So
If you guys, the whole staff puts a ton of work into that project. And
it is almost 5 projects rolled into one. I won't say maybe 2.5.
And given its prominence on the schedule, it'd be nice to know a little bit more about its reception.
Okay. Yes. Utility cabinet wraps. We have, as you know, 6 to put in of the APS cabinets. We've approved them all. We got the vendor contract was finally fully executed, so we are notifying APS, notice to proceed. We'll get those installed. Now, a question, and this could save staff time, something that we're considering is I've already talked to my staff a little bit about this, but I might push it even further. Since we had so many that were close on second, whether or not we just kind of pursue that for the next round and maybe not put a call out in January, that we try to get locations for those that were really highly thought of, and that we work on that. It would help staff a little bit not to have to do a whole call. But on the other hand, the downside of that is we know that artists in the community really look forward to these calls every year. And maybe it's a delay of 6 months versus a full year. So we're kind of debating that. I'm looking for places to, curb staff time just a little bit. Since we had such highly thought of ones, that's an idea that did occur to me for this year. But I'm happy to hear your input, on that, whether, this is just too popular and we just got to keep going with a new call in January or February, or whether or not we could think about just doing the other ones.
Thoughts on that? Anyone? Claire or Michael?
I think if you're gonna make a change, you should announce it beforehand, because there might be artists that are already expecting that call to come out that have been, like, maybe they waited for the next one, so I'm not opposed to the idea, but I would maybe say, put it on the website, like, next year, we're only gonna do 1 call instead of 2. People know ahead of time.
Yeah, we could put something on our website. It is we did have another year during the pandemic where we also stretched it out. This isn't the first time we had to stretch out. We missed a year or about 9 months on that one as well. So it's not the first time it's happened. But we do know by the response, how many people are applying now, that more people know about it than knew about it before.
There's something to be said for maintaining the momentum of garnering the new artist's attention as well. It has been a nice pipeline for them. And if we take a pause, people take a pause in their attention to the program. So,
Yeah. Boy, that's better finished. I gotta go check on this project during my time out to, but for the surgery and I've lost a little track about exactly where it is. It's supposed to be fit out here and completed by November, but I have to check in with capital project manager. But boy, I'm really hoping this one, the British phone booth, really does finish this November. Cleo Murdoch Park is the Russell by Deb Nyback. That is going full steam ahead. We just had a meeting between the people who are making the foundation and the artist, and That's already, sending, that's in fabrication. The actual sculpture part is actually in fabrication already. So we're very excited about that one. Okay, next. So that one should finish up. We do have, a on-call landscape architect approved and a scope approved. And that contract is, the last signatures are being put on it. So we'll get going on that. That does have a capital project manager, so it takes less staff time than some of our other projects. And then I know we've talked about it, but, the STEM building, has got its approval. That's all going. The artist will be, redoing her mosaic. It will be torn down and then it will be, reinstalled. We will not, although we will work with the design team to make sure that the surface area is what we need it to be. We will not be doing that mosaic until after the building is complete. But Sonia London Hall is definitely also thinking of more student engagement and processes to work with the schools, in the meantime. So we're excited about where that project's going. Next. In the motion refurbishment, we tried to direct select on this. The bid came in over 25,000. So now we're having to go out for a RFIP. But that is in process. Hopefully we'll have a vendor within 2 months, a signed vendor contract, and we'll get going on that. We still think we'll finish that one this year as well. The preservation plaza, yes, we also just got a scope of work in from the landscape architect team. Have not approved it yet, had a couple questions, but probably will approve it next week and we'll get that going under contract as well. Next. Hey, Spruce Boss Wedge, we do have an artist team. Since the artist team is the same as the Downtown Connection Center and they're coming out on August, that's when our kickoff meeting is for the Spruce Boss Wedge. So, we're gonna kill 2 birds with 1 stone that day. So in the morning, we'll be at the Downtown Connection Center doing the tour, and in the afternoon, we'll be on a site visit and then a meeting with the landscape architect team and get this one going. We're gonna be putting out the our survey questions on Connect Flagstaff, creating a focus group for this project as well to give input to the artists before they start designing. Schweitzer Canyon, hey, that call just closed on Friday. We got 62 artists applied for this project. 62, I know. So those who are on the selection panel, be ready for a 3 to 4 hour meeting.
Go team.
Oh, we continue to get popular, which just means people are noticing the work that we're doing. And artists are noticing that we are producing projects. This is something that I was hoping would happen here in Flagstaff. It is though now a big lift. They know our outreach, and Kristen's done such a good job with getting our calls out there. But like I said, between the multicultural, the airport project, the library, the courthouse, the Downtown Connection Center, people are noticing that we are doing major public art here, and they're applying. So
I would suggest strongly that the rubric for scoring be really detailed from the evaluation committee, because it was 62. It's going to be extremely hard to have the same amount of attention.
and we can't change the rubric over what was advertised to the artists.
Right, but can you break it down within each section so that there's, if something is worth 25 points for like if there's 3 sections for scoring.
I think we can describe it in more detail. I don't think I can, I will ask procurement, but I don't think we can do points because that wasn't
I
advertised.
have some concerns about artist number 48 getting the same attention as artist number 14.
Yeah.
So just giving people the ability to focus on each one and provide a really clear evaluation. So
The other thing I've thought about is whether to ask whether we could do a first cut meeting and then a second cut meeting, but I have to ask procurement about that as well. I've done that in other cities, but it may not be kosher here. So, all right, next. All right, hey, we're making progress. If you recall, the Rockman and Pebble, similar but not exactly the same, was something that was really liked at the, as an application, but didn't have that multicultural dimension for the exhibition. But since we do have the Fitz Trail sculpture project in the future, we decided to go ahead and approach this artist and see if we could just do one this year. And, we are in the middle of contract negotiations, but it looks like it's going forward. And that will be at Fox Glen Park. So, also for the Centennial, we have Chuck artists that are going to be working on the closed Aspen Avenue for a June 6th event and out at the mall. And Corey is working on that called Artists right now. Next. So that will all be complete. So Thorpe Park exhibition. Well, since again, multicultural has been so popular, as you know, we're going to try to do a slightly different kind of event at Thorpe Park. A shorter Memorial Day to 4th of July. We have 6 concrete slabs to work with. We're going to have a different kind of theme, and it can be something that's either something that's put out there or something that's an event on those 2 holiday weekends. So that call is also just about ready to go out. We're working on that as well. The Buffalo Park water tank mural. They are doing the maintenance paint basically starting in a week or so, and it should be complete at the end of August. This one caught us a little bit by surprise that it was being done so soon. It wasn't the word that we had earlier. But we are going to be excited to do a 360-degree mural. But this is one that, even though I wanted to do it as fast as possible so that no graffiti got on there, I just don't know that we have the staff capacity right now to put out a call to artists. So I'm still debating internally, with staff, and I'm, if something goes away, want to get this launched as soon as possible. It's such an exciting project, but it is a big project because that tank is huge, 360 degrees. It will be very competitive. Call to artists as well.
Is there any advantage to maybe switching some of the things like the Thorpe Park thing behind the Buffalo Park water tank, or does that matter at all?
What do you mean?
Like in terms of staff priority, because I'm just thinking about the amount of time it takes to negotiate 6 sculptures versus one gigantic mural with a lot of new factors and just given the prominence of Buffalo Park in our community, and some of this is a staff capacity. I might basically ask you, does it give you a capacity advantage to change that priority?
Yeah, it could. Yeah. It would
And I
be-
don't know I don't know the internal staff impacts of that. So I'm asking the question, but you can tell me that it's bad.
No, it's a good question. And it's something that we can take up internally as staff, because if we could switch those 2 projects and delay Thorpe Park for a year and take on Buffalo Park.
I feel like Buffalo Park has the risk of graffiti, which is concerning. And by risk, I mean, it absolutely is going to happen.
Regardless, though, we're not going to be able to avoid that,
Okay.
because if we put out the call tomorrow,
Yes, absolutely.
that tank is going to be unprotected for at least 6 months.
Yeah.
So we don't avoid that problem because we weren't able to get ahead and get the artist selected and be ready to go.
I do think
So in that sense, whether it's there 6 months or a year isn't gonna make as much difference. It's gonna be a clean slate in a month.
I mean,
And
either way, I mean, that parking lot is filled from 5 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. And it's every aspect of Flagstaff is there. It's NAU students, it's senior citizens, it's visitors. It's everybody, and I think the usage rate on it is much, much higher.
thank you for the suggestion. And my staff will take it up. It's definitely worth considering.
I'm absolutely willing to be wrong. I understand I don't know all the impacts internally.
All right, so, the last two are these two, Fourth Street, I'll take this one last, obviously, we have to wait till that's done. We have to wait till ADOT actually signs off, and they take a long time, sometimes to do that afterwards, before we're allowed to go on. And also, I just kind of, wanted to get a little bit more down on Schweitzer just to see how that all goes. The lessons learned through the design, which we can then apply to Fourth Street. I'm not talking about a major delay. I'm just talking about it will be pushed back a little bit.
I'm gonna surprise you by not objecting to the.
I understand. Yes, the East Side Streetscape Enhancement Planning, as you know, we talked about hiring a consultant. We got excited. We thought we could piggyback off of the Safe Routes to School that Metro Plan had already hired a consultant for. And I don't know if Dave, I just got informed by Dave that may not be possible any longer because either they don't have funding for their next stage beyond 30%, or they're cutting back the scope. So I'm gonna let Dave jump in here because I haven't heard the full story, so we might be back to our own consultant is what I'm saying.
So yeah, I apologize. I appear to have got the lighting wrong in my room here, but
Nice house.
hey, thank you so much. Yes, my penthouse. The So I was on a meeting recently with Metroplan, and it was quite clear that they were looking to um, work to address a budget issue by shrinking that scope a bit. And I'm not sure, we haven't actually reached a point of decision on this, but I really need to work with Jana and Metroplan to see if they can still do what we're trying to accomplish with it.
Right.
It was really exciting, as Jana mentioned, to think that there was this grant that might be able to do some of the work. And then we would be able to, obviously leverage the funds really well. But we also want to make sure it's done the way that we need it to be, to do this right. And so we just kind of need to understand what their change in scope is going to be and how it would impact our ability to piggyback. So I'm sort of just saying similar to what Jana said with maybe slightly more detail, but it was a discouraging moment. But we all know how these are kind of things, how they go sometimes. So
Yeah, we're able to move the project forward faster if we can piggyback off of them, right?
Yeah.
Again, doing another call for consultants again, the calls, the procurement process is very time consuming aspect. So that's why we were excited. We'll keep exploring it, see if it's possible. But if we have to again procure, I gotta push it back a little bit. Right now is not the time. It's not the moment. So I think that's it, right? That's our work plan.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
And so any other comments? Any further discussion or comments?
Yeah, I believe you're up next again.
I am.
Oh,
Yeah, well, I
chair
think we
and
both
vice
are.
chair.
We
Yeah.
all are. So this
Nominations.
is a group.
Okay.
Just so that, yeah, I'll go ahead and go back up. And so we, at the August meeting, is our yearly vote on our chair and vice chair, because everybody serves for 1 year, and then there's only so many consecutive years, like 2 years in a row that you can serve. And so Chair McCord is definitely eligible, and everybody else on the commission is definitely eligible. nominations can occur at this meeting, or you can email me, but there is a deadline to those emails, which is 5 p.m. on Monday, August 4th. I just, unfortunately, Vice Chair Cruz cannot be here today, had a death in the family. And so he can't speak to what's involved, but Chair McCord can talk a little bit what's involved with being a chair and a vice chair.
It's, well, it's one of my very favorite things. That's okay. All turns come to an end. The involvement is actually relatively simple on this commission. It's not like PNC. You don't get a staff of homework like this. Staff of homework is thanks to our staff here, very reasonable. I have a call with Jana to discuss the upcoming agenda, any concerns or questions, make sure that that's happening the way it should happen. Other than that, there's some attendance of events. Obviously you're a leader and a representative of the commission in the community. And, we all have different interpretations. I know the last time we did this, Michael had a list of the many, many, many things that he attends, and a lot of respect to Michael for that. And I think, as a parent and someone with a fairly constrained work period, I attend fewer events, but I also spend a lot more time out in the community looking for things, going to different art events. And I think how you make it your own is an important aspect of the leadership of the commission. And everybody brings something a little different to it. Anthony Garcia was a really excellent chair for the commission. And what I really liked about Anthony's leadership was that he made everybody talk every day. And he was great because we elicited some really excellent conversation from that. And, Michael is just so thorough and so detail oriented, and he is the one that catches all of the errors and all of the, other things that might happen and trip us up. And I really, really appreciate that. So he brought that unique aspect to his chairmanship. And, I hope that what I bring is just a passion for discussion and for, finding new ways to bring art into the community and making sure that we're always pursuing artists. And if there is something we're having a conversation about, that we have the conversation instead of just glossing over it.
I will say that we do sometimes ask the chair to speak at public events instead of having staff do it with ribbon cuttings. I mean, obviously, we always defer the mayor and vice mayor as most prominent people to give remarks, but we try to we try to put forth a chair or vice chair that forward to speak. Staff always helps with talking points. We don't leave you alone to craft everything, but that is an aspect that has been happening more of late. And actually that did come from our former chair, Garcia. He thought that was an important aspect to have the community members speak for the program as well as staff. Yeah.
So as a point of order, I actually have not had to do that.
Oh, you did not?
No, I have not had to do that during
Oh.
my chairmanship. So
That must mean the mayor or vice mayor showed up.
they do actually.
Everything I think.
Vice mayor's been.
Yeah, and that's kind of when it happens is when,
Yeah.
when that can't
So.
happen, because it can't happen unless we have conflicts, so.
But
That's
for those who might decline based on public speaking, the volume is low. So but those have all been really nice aspects of serving on the commission. And I think the biggest thing is that you have to be present. And if being here is a problem, then as it's my own opinion that it's just really not tenable to have a chair that's gone all the time. I know I've tried several times to convince some of our people with more emergency responsibilities to be present and be chair, and they have declined due to potential schedule conflicts. And so that's the biggest one. It's just if you're going to nominate someone, make sure, or if you're going to nominate yourself, just make sure you.
Yes, and you can nominate yourself.
Yeah.
So, so I'm gonna go ahead and, ask at this point, first of all, does any other commissioner have any questions? Commissioner Rulon?
I think he left. Oh, no, he didn't.
Okay, that's fine. We still have quorum. Commissioner Edelman Heath?
I don't have any questions. Thank
Go
you.
ahead. Okay, all right, thank you. Does anybody want to make a nomination at this point? And again, you don't need to, you can make these by email as long as it's by 5 p.m. on August 5th.
I'll go ahead and nominate the chair for another term as chair.
Thank you.
I'll accept that. And I have asked somebody if they would like to be nominated for vice chair, but I can hear from them.
Okay. All right, and we will, at this point, we have one nomination for chair, 0 nominations for vice chair, but we have a, whole month. Or it's about 3 weeks actually, before that closes. All right, so then, the last item, I'm just gonna go ahead and move right into it. As we know, ever since our new holiday was granted, our second Monday in October always falls on that holiday.
Hey, Jana?
Yes.
I just want to point out that Michael Rulon is still participating via chat, and he
Yes.
said he is still here, no questions, but he'd be willing to serve as vice chair. So I just want, before we moved on, I wanted to
Okay.
mention that.
All right.
Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful. I'm sorry, I can't read the comments.
Yeah, that's why I was jumping in. Hope that's
Yes.
not a problem.
Is way across the room. So I have to ask Commissioner Rulon, is that a nomination for yourself?
Says thanks. I'm trying not to unmute here because it's 2:20 a.m. here. Sure, why not?
Yes, okay, thank you. Okay, so now we have
Take that
one.
as an affirmative.
Yes, okay, but, we'll take up any votes needed in August. And then the October BPAC meeting and annual retreat, again, we have to move that meeting. It's worked real well the last 2 years just to combine it with our annual retreat. I think that's worked beautifully. Now, you've been traditionally doing it on the last Friday of October, but that does happen to be Halloween. So therefore, I put up for your consideration both October 24th and October 31st and ask you for your comments and discussion. What would you prefer?
I would prefer the 24th due to parental Halloween duties. I'm also not available on the 31st. We're doing a huge event for Culture Connection today.
Okay. I think with 2 people having a huge conflict, if there's no objection to 24th, we will go ahead and move forward with that.
Commissioner Rulon says that he has a department meeting on the 24th.
But what time is the department meeting?
He can miss it if need be. 1:30 to 3.
Okay. All right, maybe we can work around that. I don't think it necessarily needs to be an all-day meeting. I think, because we are now such an experienced commission and we have such a full work plan already. We're only arguing about a few spots each year. So, okay.
All right. And on that note, we are on item I. So any requests for future agenda items? Okay, and then item J, the time and date for the upcoming meeting is August 11th, 2025, 4 p.m. Item K, we are adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Run a faster meeting tonight.
I take pride in taking pause.